You know, about a month ago, Fox News reported that starting in January and running for about 4 months, waves of radioactive debris only took months for the ocean currents to make it across the Pacific Ocean from Japan to the west coast of the U.S. and the rest of North America, northern Mexico, and, of course, all the way up Canada to Alaska. The Arctic's been particularly heavy hit. But Fox News reported that a large wave of radioactive debris would be hitting in early 2014. And then they asked the ridiculous question, is it safe? Well, starting last week, one of our reporters, Darren McBreen, began working on a report with the fact that locals with Geiger counters were showing 5 to 7 to 10 times what is the normal level of background radiation with over-the-counter detectors. We have purchased several of them. They cost about $700 a piece. And we're also purchasing right now a professional grade one that costs several thousand. But the point is that the local government went and tested and said, indeed, it's at least 5 times normal levels. We don't know if that's safe. Well, they know full well. Long term, if you live in that area, it is not safe. And when you watch the YouTube videos of this, it starts at about 15, goes up to 150 there on the beach in San Francisco. So this is the type of issue. I am sending my reporters, several reporters, camera people, to California tomorrow. And they will be reporting from California. Then they're going to travel to Oregon. And then they're going to travel to Washington State into next week doing the mainstream media and government's job with the Geiger counters. And I suggest citizens that live on the West Coast, you should go out there with Geiger counters yourself and check your area and then send us reports at showtips@infowars.com of where you find radiation levels, a screenshot of a Google map, and we will send our reporters there to double verify that. But again, I want to repeat this to everybody. It's here. We've been getting hit by radiation for 2+ years from Fukushima, but this is the big one. It's taken 2+ years for this debris field from the Fukushima area where the tsunami came in and then the reactors exploded and then a lot of that went out to sea. It's taken 2+ years for that to get here. Turns out 3 months after the disaster, the Food and Drug Administration, along with the EPA, tested yellowfin tuna caught off San Diego and found 3 to 5 times the normal what they consider to be safe levels of background radiation in the tuna. They decided for a full year not to tell the public. So the big issue here is that this is a Chernobyl-level event, and just like in Japan, they're telling everyone that everything's safe. Now, obviously, the radiation levels are much lower than they are in and around Fukushima, and I would feel comfortable being in and around that radiation area for weeks, if not months, because I've had physicists, nuclear physicists on, radiation experts, Dr. Busby, Dr. Bob Bowman, the list goes on and on. It's limited exposure short term is not an issue. It is the long-term exposure of people that live there on the West Coast. Now, being near Fukushima, hours is horribly bad for you if you're actually over within a few miles, like the schools are in that area. The reason I'm not going is I have to go to my uncle's funeral Wednesday, but I am intending, as this develops, in the next few weeks, to go to the West Coast myself. So you can put that in your bank account and guarantee it. I'm going to be going out to California as the radiation wave intensifies. This is only the beginning. Why is nascent iodine so important?
Nascent iodine is so important because it goes directly to the thyroid. It's not bonded to a salt, which means it doesn't have to be broken down, and it's the most usable form. It's what the body uses. It's what the body is designed to use. If you have low energy levels, if you have pains, if you have thyroid problems, if you don't feel up to par, well, they've proven now that the fluoride and a lack of iodine causes a decreased IQ because you have all this stuff that builds up inside your system and builds up and builds up. And that's why some people, when they start taking iodine, will have what's called a Herxheimer reaction or a detoxification reaction. But that's a good sign. That means you're detoxifying all that fluoride buildup, the mercury buildup in there, the bromine buildup in your system, and the chlorine buildup in your system. You don't want those things. All of those things have been proven as carcinogens. That's one of the reasons prostate cancer is on the rise too, is because prostate takes up iodine, and the men that are lacking iodine causes the prostate to become cystic and causes the prostate to swell and eventually leads to prostate cancer. There's been an extreme rise in polycystic ovarian disease, PCOS, with women, fibrocystic breast disease, because iodine is stored in the breast tissue, the ovaries, the prostate glands in men. It's utilized by every single cell in the body.
Why does this almost taste good compared to other iodine that tastes horrible? That's because it's real iodine atomic form.
We wanted something that's going to go straight into the bloodstream and straight into the thyroid gland. We wanted to put it in a vegetable glycerin base. That's a USP kosher certified vegetable glycerin base. And that product is not tested on animals. It's vegan friendly. It's gluten free. It's GMO free.
Of all the things I've done, nascent iodine was just absolutely amazing. So we developed with Dr. Group a double strength, low price, InfoWarsLife.com Survival Shield, the atomic nascent iodine, available right now. We have a lot of really important news today, including a fast and furious gun-running whistleblower joining us from Australia. Then we've got Leanne McAdoo going into downtown Austin, where there is a hunger strike over removing poisonous hydrofluorosilicic acid and calcium fluoride and sodium fluoride from our water supply. She's going to pop in with a 10-minute report at the bottom of the third hour. We're going to be covering incredibly important economic news, military news, political news, Obamacare news. But as you know, we began covering in the last month a Fox News report. It's also in the Tokyo Times, it's in the Japanese newspapers, that it took a couple months for the main currents to go across the Pacific Ocean. They flow from Japan, just like the winds, towards North America, Mexico, the United States, Canada, up into Alaska. And it was reported in local news, San Francisco Chronicle, you name it, that in the first few months after Fukushima, via the air, radiation levels in some cases were 10 times normal levels, usually 3 or 4 times. They picked up a whole bunch of different radioactive isotopes. The FDA responded by raising, on a limited basis, what they said was safe, and did not tell people not to drink milk produced in California for a few months, because those cows are big bioaccumulators, just like big fish bioaccumulate mercury and other toxins. And if there's been contamination in the ocean, you don't want to eat them for a while. Same thing with cows. You don't want to drink their milk or eat their flesh if they're eating off grass that's had fallout on it. And when my wife was growing up as a daughter of a diplomat in Europe, when Chernobyl happened, for 6 months, they didn't drink the milk. They had to ship in powdered milk. They didn't eat the vegetables. They had to ship it in. And that was Europe-wide. Eastern Europe, Western Europe, Southern Europe. She was in Italy at that time for Chernobyl. And this is much bigger than Chernobyl, that the UN estimates killed 1 million people since 1986 from thyroid cancers and other tumors directly associated with the Chernobyl disaster in the Ukraine. Now, that said, here's Fox News from November 29th. So this is now a month and a half ago. Is it safe? Radioactive Japanese wave nears the United States. In the wake of the deadly tsunami that hit Japan in 2011 and severely damaged nuclear reactor, Japanese officials say the levels of radiation are safe for everyone. That's proven to be a fraud outside the reactor area itself. But as radioactive water from the plant nears the west coast of North America, the water is expected to hit in 2014. Can we be sure it's safe? I don't know. Putting a rope around your neck and dropping a chair from under your feet, is that safe? Shooting yourself in the head, is that safe? Playing in traffic, is that safe? I mean, this is smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day, is that safe? Having unprotected sex with 500 people a year, is that safe? I don't know, is it safe? I love how they always just push this. Now, why am I getting into this? You have all that debris that's starting to make it over here that took 2 years to go across. It doesn't move as fast as the currents. It's been reaching the coastline now in the last few weeks. You've got the water that continues in the ongoing meltdowns as they pump seawater into it on the edge of the coast. It runs back into the ocean. And then it comes right across and circulates around in circles from northern Mexico all the way up to Alaska. Now, the starfish are dying up and down the coast en masse. I've never seen this before. They're actually rotting and just desiccating in front of everyone. The seals are dying. The dolphins, the whales are dying in record numbers because whales are bioaccumulating. They're eating a lot of fish, or they're eating a lot of krill, a lot of plankton, and they are like sponges, like filters. They're picking it all up, and we have all those reports. And just like and I'm getting to the big story here in a moment, the radiation's 500 times what it should be. That's confirmed in California right now, in San Francisco. That's the top story on drudgereport.com on the right-hand side. We'll put that on screen and click that story. And then you notice that under it, Drudge links to the local San Francisco newspaper that we're reporting from. And they talked to the state, and the state's gone out and tested it and found exactly what citizen Geiger counters, hundreds of these videos have been uploaded the last week, as people all over California go out with $500, $600, $700 Geiger counters, and they all pick up. The normal background level is 14 on these devices, and it's up at 150. You start walking towards the beach in San Francisco, and it's at 30, it builds up to 40, and then it goes up to 150. Now, again, the issue is we saw the deadly dust. We saw them lie and say the tower dust and the collapsed towers was safe. We saw them come out and say Agent Orange wasn't bad for people when they knew what it had done in tests in and around Anniston, Alabama, for the population that lived around the Monsanto plant. They knew the entire time exactly what this would result in. They understood that. Now, it's the same thing on every front. Just like until 1990, they would not let U.S. troops use depleted uranium in any type of combat or even in any type of drills or firing range, proving ground testing, because it ignites going down the barrel, whether it's fired out of a Vulcan cannon in an A-10 Warthog, or whether it is fired out of a 50 caliber Barrett, or whether it's fired out of a .308 sniper rifle. It ignites going down the barrel, and then you breathe a large dose of the radioactive uranium that then at point-blank range goes inside your cells and gives you cancer, destroys your kidneys, destroys your lungs, destroys your liver, destroys your skin, destroys your testicles, destroys your ovaries. This is what our troops are going through. U.S. military, last time I checked, has 5 times the birth defects now from the last 2 Gulf Wars. Fallujah has 16 times the world average for birth defects where DU was used. And this goes to show the globalists don't care, and they're not going to warn you about what's happening. They are not going to tell you about what is unfolding. They are not going to tell you what's happening on the West Coast. Back when this happened 2.5 years ago, back in 2011, that's 3 years ago, time flies. They picked up with the state testing stuff in Vermont and in places on the East Coast, much higher levels of radiation in the milk, in the lettuce, in the spinach, things that grow on the surface with the fallout. So we know this is going on. And when you read the article out of the Half Moon Bay Review local paper, just outside San Francisco, they name and talk to the state officials who say, yes, we did find what the other people posting YouTube videos of their Geiger counters found, And they go on to say, although the radiation level was clearly higher 5 times than is typical, Peterson emphasized that it was still not unsafe for humans. A person would need to be exposed to 100 micro REMs of radiation for 50,000 hours before it surpassed safety guidelines by the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, he explained. Well, here's the deal. They've already raised the radiation level, so that's not true. You do not want to spend more than a few weeks around this, I can tell you right now. And if these levels do not subside after a few weeks, according to all the nuclear physicists I've talked to, I want to get Dr. Busby back on. He's a nuclear and chemical physicist as soon as you can, guys. We can't get Dr. Bob Bowman on, former head of Star Wars. He died last year. But I want to get some physicists on to break this down so you can hear it from them. But it goes on to say that county health officials went out and tested it and did find the same numbers that the YouTube video shows. So that's confirmed. That's confirmed, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sending my reporters out there. But it doesn't matter. West Coast officials, Obama, don't worry about radiation risk in U.S. CNN says everything is fine. Just like they said with the dust on 9/11, it turns out the head of the EPA was told, Christina Todd Whitman, they were told, that was the head of the EPA then, right? Check that for me. I'm going from memory. Just look, EPA told a lie about tower air, or World Trade Center collapse air, or World Trade Center dust, and it'll pull up the actual articles from the time. The point is that all of this is happening, all of this is going on, and we have the 2 reports at Infowars.com that are taking this local story that the mainstream national media wouldn't cover. We've put it out nationwide at PrisonPlanet.com and Infowars.com, and now Drudge has pushed it out, and this will force the media, not just here but worldwide, to cover it. I predict within a week, you're going to see reporters out there from Dinosaur Media crawling the beaches, finding areas with low radiation under orders, and telling you that it's safe. Yes, it was EPA head Christina Todd Whitman told reporters at Ground Zero, we've not seen any reason or readings that have indicated a health hazard, but CBS News confirms that they lied. There's the headline. We're told to lie about it. And they're lying to you right now about the radiation. Bottom line, it's deadly.
Hello, this is Hank Hill, and I'm telling you what, you need to listen to Alex Jones.
Yeah. Infowars.com.
Judge, what is the secret of the universe?
Infowars.com.
Headline, Infowars.com. Has Fukushima's radioactive wave already hit California? Question mark. Well, undoubtedly increased radiation in the fish and other seafood, and increased radiation in crops is from fallout, and increased radiation hitting the beaches is from Fukushima. It's right on time for all of this to arrive. But we still put a question mark on it. Here's another article on Infowars.com. Health officials, no concern, that's the quote, over 500% increase in radiation levels off California beach. By the way, folks, some of the readings are even higher than 500 times. 500 times. Now, again, that is still nothing like what you'd have near Fukushima or near Chernobyl. But long-term exposure from all the physicists that we've talked to, all the medical doctors, all the scientists, all the radiologists, this is uber bad for you. And we have a lot of affiliates out in California, a lot of great people out there. When I come out there in a few weeks, I mean, I guess I'm just going to do it. I should probably visit Michael Zwirling and all the great folks out there with 2 affiliates we have in Santa Cruz to test what's going on out there. Now, these waves can come in and then get diluted and the level can go down. But, I mean, if this continues, Here's the big crime, because so many things are going through my head right now. They're not telling the public to take potassium iodine. They're not telling them to take TheraSafe. They're not telling them to take Survival Shield. They're not even telling people to go out and get the proper Himalayan and gourmet sea salts. Not all of them have it, that have the naturally occurring iodine. Because if you don't have that, not just in your thyroid, but in your glands, period, you will absorb this stuff like a sponge. That's what the thyroid does, is it will grab radioactive isotopes, the radioactive iodine, and it will absorb it along with other toxins like fluoride, borine, the halogen family, into your thyroid. Why do you think last week the federal government ordered an additional 14 million dosages? And when we called them and said, is that for the American people or for the feds, they hung up on us. Like, we should flash back and repost that article and video that Anthony Gucciardi did with Paul Watson last week. This makes me so angry that they're not telling people that they need to protect themselves. The government is hardening their facilities nationwide, hundreds of millions of dollars for 2 facilities, 2 Social Security facilities. I have more articles here in my stack today. The Federal Reserve is hiring lots of new armed police officers. The private Federal Reserve is arming more armed guards, record levels. I mean, government, the bankers, all of them. Goldman Sachs, it came out 2 years ago, was hiring armed guards and getting concealed carry permits in New York. Something you can only get if you're an insider. They all get to have guns, and they told Bloomberg News, we have these guns to protect ourselves from the public with what's coming. When they take all your pension funds, all your bank accounts, at least a large piece of it, in a bail-in, and give it to offshore banks. What do you think old Bozo Care is? He's not a bozo. He's a genius with the globalist, so I shouldn't call him a bozo. It is a ruled, Supreme Court certified foreign tax to corporations. It's been ruled a tax that you pay to offshore banks that own the insurance companies. They're already doing it. They're already directly taxing you. That's the dream of globalism, the dream of the SDRs, the dream of the 100 trillion a decade at the Davos Forum. Search. Davos wants 100 trillion in new credit every decade. And then they list the credit as carbon taxes and bail-ins right out of your bank accounts, global VATs, global Tobin taxes. They are, when the cashless society goes in, folks, they are going to hammer us to hell. And they're such crazy gangsters, bravada, chutzpah, crazy people, that they don't even care if their own kids are breathing radiation. I guess they do. They're all getting the TheraSafe that I wouldn't take long term. We sell it. We have it at InfoWarsStore.com. And again, I'm a free market guy. I've got stuff for my family. I'm doing research to protect myself. I know this wave of radiation's coming. How do I fund our InfoWars operation while helping people? We sell the nascent iodine. We sell the high-quality stuff, but we've also got the stuff the government's buying and hoarding because we understand it's important. I take the iodine. My children take the iodine to protect ourselves and for good health. But the government won't tell the public to do it while they buy it and gobble it.
Now you can watch Alex Jones live at Infowars.com/show.
You'll find links to all of our content there and a free 15-day trial for Prison Planet TV.
You can also browse the network, the InfoWars Nightly News,
and over 60 movies and documentaries all together in one place.
You can watch the Alex Jones radio show live as it happens.
So check it out, Infowars.com/show.